Well, good afternoon all, and welcome to October's Central Maine Tech Night, albeit during the day this afternoon. It is wonderful to see everyone digitally this afternoon. For those of you that have not attended a Central Maine Tech Night in the past, Central Maine Tech Night and our network Tech Talks are monthly afternoon and or evening events where in our small group setting, founders and leaders share real advice on how they overcame challenges, capitalized on their target market, and developed their product, providing you with actionable insight for your own products and processes. You may find us on Facebook or online at centralmaine.org at the Tech Night tab. I'd like to thank our sponsors for this evening. This free event is presented by the Central Maine Growth Council and is sponsored by CGI, Thomas College's Harold Alfond Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space at 10 Water Street in the Hathaway Creative Center in downtown Waterville, Maine. In addition, I'd like to say hello to folks that are watching at home at a later date. This Tech Night is being streamed live and will be available for future viewing on Central Maine Growth Council's website. I would now like to introduce and welcome the PowerMarket team here. October's Network Tech Talk is Community Solar, Within Reach for Your Business by Community Outreach Director Kay Mann and her wonderful team at PowerMarket Maine. COVID-19 has increased the need for small businesses to explore options for streamlining their energy costs. Kay and the PowerMarket team will share their perspective on lowering electricity costs through multiple business approaches and share how recent tax changes may have just put solar expansion within reach for your business. So without further ado, welcome and thank you for joining us, Kay.
Thank you very much, Garvin. And I want to also introduce Apollo the cat, who may come in and out of the slides or out of the picture as we're talking. So I'm coming to you from Brunswick, Maine. Electricity costs. So let's jump to the next slide. So there's three primary ways that we generally think of that we can cut our electricity costs. One is we can't fail to make a shout out, a mention to Efficiency Maine and all the help that they can provide to both homes and businesses, whether it be through weatherization or through LED conversions or appliances, changing over to the more efficient appliances. If you haven't yet asked Efficiency Maine to help you reduce your electricity usage and thereby your costs, that's a great first step for anybody to take. The second step we'll talk a little bit more is how you can shop for a cheaper electricity supply. And most people are familiar with the fact that we have standard offer supply by default, or you can choose a competitive electricity supplier that's been in place since I think 1998. And some people have varying opinions about different suppliers, but it's still an option for us to look for cheaper electricity supply rates, and we'll be sharing a resource with you on that. And another great way to cut your costs is take command of it, either own your solar on your roof or subscribe to community solar. So we'll go into a little more about how to do that. So next slide. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but there's a picture there of the uniform disclosure label. And that one is for the current, no pun intended, standard offer supply report that shows on the left-hand side what goes into generating the power. And on the right-hand side, it shows all the emissions that come from the generation of that power. So this is put out and by requirement, by I guess statutory requirement, that every competitive supplier has to issue their label disclosing what goes into making their power and what its emissions are. at least annually, and the standard offer issues this quarterly, so that consumers can compare them side by side, like apples to apples, in a uniform format. It makes it easier to compare if you are concerned about the fact that it's over 80% fossil fuels that are currently generating the standard offer supply. And I think the emissions are somewhere around 400 pounds of CO2 every month. So deregulation went into effect in 1998. This was intended to create competition in the marketplace and keep supply prices low. And so some say it has. We don't really know what it would have been like without this, this system. So every year, the standard offer supply is put out to bid from different competitive suppliers by the Public Utilities Commission, so that they can bid in Q4. So we're right now in the bidding time of year for the next coming calendar year's standard offer supply price. And sometimes it actually goes down, usually goes up. But it is announced usually in December by the PUC as to what the standard offer supply prices are going to be for the two major utility territories, CMP and Versant, starting in January. And they follow the calendar year. And then the competitive suppliers will change their supply rates all the time, different months, different years, and they will offer different sort of packages for different lengths of time, and so you can shop them. And so let's go to the next slide, and we're going to see where I like to, actually this isn't the one, okay, it's okay, we're good. They're a little out of order. We're gonna, 2 slides from now, we're gonna talk about where you can compare the different suppliers. In the first case though, we want to talk a little bit more about efficiency. And efficiency is really popular, of course, in New England among us, you know, Yankees. We're used to pinching pennies wherever we can and being as efficient as we can and looking for the best deal on everything. So if you engage in any kind of energy efficiency activity, you're likely to save a lot of money on your electricity costs, and payback is often in less than 2 years, depending on the size and scope of your project. So let's keep going. This is a wonderful resource that I like to share with everybody. It's offered by the Maine Office of the Public Advocate, who helps us compare rates not only for electricity, but things like internet and phone services and all kinds of other things related to utilities that we have a choice among. This one is listing the standard offer supply, both for CMP and for, it says Versant now, it's been changed and updated. It used to say Amera in the third column. And it's giving us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of the competitive electricity suppliers as alternatives. You get to see how to contact them, what their rate is, for what period of time, and whether there is any kind of early termination fee that you might face if you decided to end your contract with them early. So this is a super excellent resource for everybody who's shopping for supply, and I love to share this because it's a great way to stay on top of our electricity costs and find ways to save money. It is updated on a pretty regular basis. I'd say probably at least monthly, and the caveat that the Office of Public Advocate has given me in the past is it's only as up to date as the data given to them by the CEPs. So let's keep on going. Okay, it's time for me to now hand off our presentation to Leland to talk about how community solar power, which is a new thing in Maine, can help us to save money. Is Leland there? There you are.
Yeah, sorry about that. Some technical difficulties on my side. Thank you, Kay. Thanks for that wonderful intro and background into different ways to participate in clean energy and reduce your electric bill. Efficiency and suppliers are probably the 2 that we're most familiar with, and then installing solar has kind of followed that. as being an option as of late. So what I'd like to talk about is really just what those options look like now and what that means for you as far as what option or options could be best for you. So I'll give you a little background into community solar as far as how it was created, and we'll discuss some of the differences between each of those options. And the good thing generally is that they don't tend to be mutually exclusive. So with energy efficiency, everyone can do that, and you typically see those savings very quickly. With selecting an energy supplier, if the rates are good and the savings is evident, then that tends to be a great option for people as well. And then community solar versus rooftop solar. Those are really, that has to do with the main question a lot of people ask us as far as whether or not they should participate in this program. And so as you'll see with the first bullet point here, there's always the option to invest in a solar array for your roof or installed on your property, and to reap those benefits over the lifetime of that installation, which tends to be a couple decades long. Where that is a good fit for people is if they have the budget for it, if they have the property for it, and if they're okay with that type of installation. And typically you're talking about $10,000 to tens of thousands of dollars for an installation like that. And we do think it's a great option. We certainly do. As far as community solar, that's where this thing called net energy billing comes into play. Basically what it means is if you're out of your house, let's just say that, and generating lots of electricity, you get to use the electric grid, your utility, as a battery, and then they just apply those credits back to you directly on your bill. It's basically like rollover minutes, except for your electric bill. And with community solar, what's happening is you have this larger solar array not built at your property, so you don't need to pay anything up front. And that's going into the electric grid locally. And you're getting credits directly on your utility bill, and you're paying less right from the moment you're signed up and those credits are being generated on your behalf. So this program has no upfront costs. It is a guaranteed savings program, no exceptions. And I think that's very important to stress because there is a history, as we all know, of maybe signing up for a supplier, as I've done myself, and my rates ended up being higher, not low. It can always be good if you find the right program for you. This really should be thought of as different as far as the savings are concerned, and different in the sense that it's local. It's like spending money at a local shop on Main Street instead of spending it at a big box store. So if you can go to the next slide. So this program started very recently. We've had a 2-decade history of energy supply options, and now community solar is changing the landscape in many different states across the US at the moment, Maine being an early leader in that regard. Previously, with these projects, you can have close to 200 people, up to 200 people sign up for them. And it was restrictive for developers to go out and build them because previously you could only have, I think it is 9 here. And so now we can, or 10 in total, and now we can have much more than that. So that's kind of opened the floodgates. And one of our projects is going to be the first to break ground and the first to provide savings to the state of Maine, which we're incredibly excited about. And so as far as this program goes, now in the present moment, net energy billing, that's the NEB acronym there. There are basically 2 billing models. One's a kilowatt hour savings, another is called tariff rate credits. You can disregard those. They both equate to the same or extremely similar amount of savings. One is for you if you are a homeowner or a small business. The other tends to be if you're a larger commercial business. That's the only distinction there. If we can go to the next slide now. Great, so these are the two main projects in Maine at the moment, Belfast Community Solar and Monson Community Solar. One is, as you can see, already signed up with customers. So we do that quite a bit ahead of time. They are expected to be completed at the end of 2020. So people should see savings as early as this year or in the beginning of next. And yeah, beyond that, we're happy to take questions. We've saved approximately, as PowerMarket, just stepping back and speaking about our company here and sort of our philosophy, we've saved over $600,000 that's directly put back into the pockets of our customers and the communities in which we work. And we have 200 megawatts under management, which you can think of as, I think, over 40 projects at this point. And the exciting thing about Maine in particular is that a lot of other states have caps as far as the number of projects that can be built. Maine has kind of seen what other states are doing in the market and said, we want to be a leader in clean energy. And so they don't have a cap at the moment. And I think that's something we should all be very excited about at the stance that the state has taken and the Public Service Commission has taken. And that's it from my side. Yeah, thank you for allowing us to have the time here. And
thank you so much for that, Leland and Kay. Did I see you had a hand up and you wanted to piggyback off a thought there?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Leland said. I think there may be one more slide, or just want to ask you to advance. Yeah, so here's some contact info. It has our email address, which is just general info @ and the PowerMarket website. You have my phone number there, and Nick, who is not here, you might be confused about why are we giving Nick's phone number. He's a business development manager at PowerMarket, and he was going to be joining us, but he's traveling today. So Leland has kindly stepped in to fill Nick's shoes and tell us about the community solar options we have in Maine. The other thing I failed to do is introduce our associate Patrick Heffron, who is actually located up north in Monson, right close to the Monson Solar Project. And so Patrick is sort of your go-to guy, pardon the printer noise, for northern Maine, at least northern CMP utility service area. And so I encourage you to contact Patrick as well. He's put his email address right into his name, I see. And also Patrick was kind enough to put a link into the chat when I was talking about the slide about the Maine Office of Public Advocate. He's put in the link there in the chat box. So if anybody wants to go visit that after the presentation, I encourage you to do that.
Great.
Yeah, any questions?
Thank you so much for that. Maybe to jumpstart a little Q&A briefly, if that's all right. And for folks currently watching with us, feel free to drop any questions into the Zoom group chat. We'll get to them. I'll go quickly here to one question we have in the chat. Are there other planned my apologies if I misarticulate this, but I believe the root of the question is the Monson site is maybe close to being oversubscribed or is oversubscribed. So I think the question is, are there other solar planned locations in the works, other additional sites? Maybe just to piggyback and dovetail off that question, where are we seeing solar sites prop up?
Great question. Yes, It is true. Monson has been fully subscribed. It's a small project, and it's, I guess all its subscribers are kind of the family and friends of the developer, which is really cool, right? Local. And we do have 5 other current projects that we're working with. The first to come online will be Belfast, which was also illustrated in that map. And there's 4 others which are going to follow closely on its heels. First of all, Belfast should throw the on switch in December, start producing power and solar credits this December, which makes us kind of the first onto the grid of these new wave of community solar projects that are being developed right now by lots of different developers, actually. And then we have 2 in Gardner, 1 in Baudouin, and 1 in China. And that's, like, if you will, the first generation of PowerMarket Maine projects, and there will be many others after that.
Great, thank you. And really nice context, and great to hear you know, various phases of solar projects occurring. I think we're also seeing that very visually as well too. Maybe I will ask the question of, and for kind of broader context for folks that maybe are less familiar with either solar development or community solar or the marketplace, can somebody touch on just a general scenario in terms of the ecosystem? So say I own business X in Waterville, and I'm interested in using solar electricity. What does that look like for me? What do I need? What does a solar development even look like in my community? And what are the inputs I need to provide you, and vice versa? What does that look like in city solar, where our businesses are looking to take advantage of this opportunity?
Leland, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So as far as, it sounds like part of that question just has to do with how do I go about signing up for this? What are some of the requirements? And then also, you know, what physically does this look like, which maybe is different than what we might be more familiar with rooftop solar on our homes. And so I think the first part of that, it's really quite simple. You just go onto our website, select the project, and fill out some basic details. You'll include your utility bill so we can figure out how much of the project to assign you, be it, you know, as simple as 10 panels versus 100 plus. And then once we receive that information from you, what we do is we submit it to the utility for approval as well. But typically, if you're approved on our side, you're 99.9% guaranteed to be approved on the utility side as well. And that's really it. There's no inspection of your property or anything like that. It's really just your utility bill. One thing to keep in mind, people often ask just about paying a second bill. The way this program works functionally is we lower your utility bill, and you'll see solar credits on there. And then instead of paying that full value to us, you pay us 90% of the value of those credits. And so that's where your savings comes in. And it's a bit, that point in particular is a little confusing. You're paying more bills, but you're spending less money. It's a bit hard to wrap your head around that. I find, and we find when talking with people, that is how community solar is designed. And it happens every single month, and that's where the savings will come from. So the bigger your electric bill, you know, the bigger dollar amount of savings you're going to receive every single month. As far as the second part of that question, just, you know, how do these projects work? How do they look? They are, I mean, you can drive by the projects and see them for yourself. Typically, an open field, sometimes on top of a more industrial building because they have a very flat roof. And for these projects, you'll see a ton of panels, and it's going to go directly to the electric grid. And then the utility just manages however much production is created each month, and then applies those credits to your bill based on how much of the project we've assigned to you. And anyone can visit these projects, drive by them. It's typically a nice source of pride and a good way to really easily participate in clean energy without having a large mountain to climb and lots of legwork to do to figure out, if you are otherwise eligible. So typically it tends to be a good option for people who've tried to explore it in the past, but maybe met a few obstacles, or people who are exploring it for the first time and are really wanting to spend less money on their electric.
Great. Thank you so much for that. So very helpful. Both Kay and Leland mentioned reference to new legislation and new laws in Maine as it relates to the solar industry, as well as how it affects things from taxes to businesses to developers. At the high level, can somebody touch on just has this, the new law and the new legislation in 2019, why has that been such a game changer, and what has made it such a game changer, if in fact you believe it has been such a positive impact on the solar industry?
I'll try to take that one. We had the limit on the number of off-takers, if you will, or subscribers or share owners that could participate in a community solar farm previously, before this law was enacted in, I think it was June of 2019, LD 1711. And when that cap that was sort of restraining the size of community solar developments was lifted, it was like all of a sudden taking the sky's now the limit. It was like blowing the lid off this industry. And the developers of solar power have responded by saying, oh, it's a whole new day in Maine. I like to say there were a lot of red lights in front of the development of solar power in the past, and now it's all green lights ahead. So, I remember that song in the 70s, "The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades." That's kind of what it reminds me of as another analogy for what it has done for our solar industry.
Great, thank you. And then again, just to underscore, for businesses and residents, what does this mean?
Well, for businesses, it means you have a new way to save money on electricity costs. You have a new way to engage with Maine's renewable energy, efforts, I guess you would say. It's really true for both businesses and homeowners. Our governor has set some aggressive and very ambitious goals for renewable portfolio standards. And that is to get from 40% to 80% renewables from 2020 to 2030. So in 10 years, she wants to double our renewable power generation capacity for electricity, and then another jump from 80% to 100% by 2050. So all of this is working toward those goals, which are pretty formidable, and we all want to do our part, those of us who are concerned about climate change, at least.
So, and thank you for that. So certainly a bright future on the horizon for the solar industry here in Maine. Yeah. But with growth is always challenge, and that's nor good nor bad. Can the team touch on some challenges that are expected to occur in any advancing economy or industry, whether it's grid capacity or the phasing of developments? What challenges do you see right now, but also on the horizon?
Sure, I think I can speak to some of that. Energy policy, just very broadly, is driven at the local level, and there tends to not be a standard for what that looks like across the board. So each state, each governor, each state legislature and public service commission, they are, it's very much emblematic of each state being a laboratory of democracy. And what we're doing, what I think we're doing with Maine is really observing what's happening in the industry, taking some of those best practices, and then applying it to the state. So that way we can have lots of, clean energy development with solar and with other technologies as well. Diversity in this case is good. There's no one catch-all solution for sure. And that's great. Some of the obstacles we're running into in that regard is just, streamlining this process, making sure that the utilities are communicating with us and vice versa, and making sure that when these developers have that initial conversation with the landowner, where they can have confidence they can build these projects in a relatively fast amount of time. And so streamlining the environmental work and the permitting process, that continues to be a challenge, something that we are certainly working on. But I think the silver lining of all of this, if I were to really stress anything, it would be that these projects are here, they are now, and I think this is going to be just a tidal shift as far as the clean energy landscape goes, in Maine in particular, but across the country as more states observe how well all of these states who have adopted these really bold, impressive policies, how well they're doing with them.
That's great. Thank you, and very insightful. Yeah, Kay.
I'm going to add one more challenge that I have heard on the ground, which is certainly just simple workforce development challenges. Right, we are shorthanded on solar workers, and so I alluded to that in your 5 Qs, Garvin, that you sent. I said, if anybody's looking for a bright new career, steer them towards the solar industry in Maine. There's training available, and it's a wonderful opportunity to be sort of getting in near the ground floor. And I think there's a lot of good potential for people entering that field.
Hi, could I interject at this point on something? Kevin Vashon?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, my name's Kevin Vashon, and I'm an instructor at Kennebec Valley Community College in the renewable energies and the green energy. I had a hard time getting on early. We lost power at the house. If I lose power, I lose internet. So just want to let everybody know that we have the resources at the college to take any workforce development in relationship to COVID-19. We can have on-site, on-campus training as long as we have 10 people or less. We could do synchronous online, or we could go to a work site to do it. But we're on the forefront of all the community colleges to be able to teach this. I've been at the college since 2006, and we started developing this about 2015 or so. So we're set up to go, and we want to certainly help any way we can. And Elizabeth Fortin is the dean that is in charge of this. She couldn't get on today either. But I don't know if you have any questions for me. If not, I'll just listen to everybody.
Kevin, thank you for that. And I was going to go that direction as well, but you beat me to it. So thank you. And Kay, great point with regards to persistent workforce challenges within Maine's labor economics throughout industries, but including within the solar industry. And I think it's a wonderful point in zeroing in on the opportunity to lead and have a robust and sophisticated workforce for the solar industry here in mid-Maine as a result of, frankly, a number of projects, but even more importantly, the ability and the educational assets that Kennebec Valley Community College has here right in the community with existing programs, as well as the ability to stand up new programs and to work directly with employers and projects. So really just an incredible asset that often is the other major corner of a deal, that deal being, the workforce and developing this. So really, really great and succinct point there. KVCC, of course, with campus in Fairfield and a beautiful campus out in Hinckley as well.
Yeah, so we do have a mobile unit that we're setting up with mock roof systems and the equipment. So we do have everything set up to do off-site training. Again, it's the COVID-19 that'll limit what we can do, but we're ready to go that way too. Some company wants us to go to their place, we can do that. and train right out of the mock roof systems and the panels and the microinverters and everything right there.
That's spectacular. Very cool with the mobile unit. Yeah, Kay, I think I see your hand.
I was just giving Kevin a thumbs up. I think that's so awesome that you're like ready to meet this challenge. And so we just need to get people in your doors, right?
Get them in our doors or get me in your doors, one or the other. Yeah. We're all set up with also with NABCEP, National, to do this work. Plus, we incorporate OSHA 10 construction into these programs also, because anybody that's working in that environment, that type of industry, should have an OSHA 10-hour construction card. That's just the safety and all the aspects of climbing roofs and putting systems on, a little bit of electrical and all those. So we have that we incorporate into some of the programs.
Great, thank you. And for any businesses, developers, students, or potential folks looking to make or retool within the workforce, or maybe watching this presentation at a later time, please feel free to reach out to the Central Maine Growth Council or Elizabeth Horton at KVCC. We'll happily plug you in there. So thank you for bringing this up. To the energy market team here, can you touch base on, and say for maybe a business watching this now or at a later date, is there a certain size of a business or a certain amount of energy that's being used, or is there a Goldilocks zone, if you will, that you see benefits really starting to maybe not just kick in, but really starting to exponentially increase? What does that model business look like, if there is one?
That's a good question. I don't think there's any optimal size business who can benefit more than another size business from this. But I can tell you that until last week, we could only offer our community solar subscriptions to residential size meters and SGS class meters, which are the smaller business meters that don't have to pay the demand charges. And as of last week, we were told that we can now offer solar subscriptions to the larger meters, which are MGS and LGS for medium general service and large general service. And those are the larger businesses, like maybe restaurants on up, who have to pay a demand charge because their usage is so high. And so we're very pleased that we don't have to any longer limit the size of businesses who can participate. We're really excited about that, and it's opened up a whole new world for us, for Patrick and myself and Olivia, who's not here but is also helping us with outreach in Maine, to be able to reach out to these larger businesses who need as much as anyone else, or maybe more than anyone else, to be able to save money on their electricity costs. And the folks who are paying demand charges in particular are, hurt by those charges. I think, from what they tell me, those are very hard for them to bear at times. And the fact that we can apply solar credits, not only to the delivery and the supply portion of their bills, but also now to the demand charges too, I hope that's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, and I might add also on that subject. I mean, it's 10% savings. So the bigger your bill is, just the more dollars you're going to save. And I think one thing that's really important that we haven't really mentioned yet on this call is that people are struggling right now, and really just anything we can do to help alleviate some of that stress, really makes me proud, and I also feel like makes people incredibly excited to join, knowing that they're not just helping out their own pocketbook, but they're helping out their community and the clean energy transition broadly. And we have a lot of other people. We have lots of nonprofits. We have inns, restaurants, or coffee shops who maybe have a higher electric bill than your typical homeowner might. They have thin margins, and so this really helps in that regard as well. Houses of worship, really for anyone who's out there who's seeing this, I mean, this is a program that can really appeal across the board. And the bigger your electric bill, the more you'll stand to save at the end of the day. And if people want to figure out if they're eligible, just reach out to Kay or Nick. We'll go to our website and send us your utility bill, and we'll quickly let you know.
Thank you for that. So our Tech Night network here, and you know, our technologists that enjoy these type of discussions, we're always thinking about the future and what this or any innovation means for us, not just today, but looking very much forward into that future. So to that end, where do folks see the industry going in the future? What excites you? Any particular innovation on the horizon for the next game changer? Is it battery tech, or is it efficiency of panels? Where do we see the solar industry going in Maine?
Well, I have a few ideas about that. One is just the fact that the more renewable energy sources of generation that we can develop in Maine, the more independent and resilient we will be as a state, the more self-reliant, if you will, we will be on using energy sources that exist in Maine instead of having to import energy that comes from fossil fuel sources and sources that don't exist in Maine. Like Maine doesn't have fossil fuel resources to speak of. We have a lot of renewable energy sources. I would love to see us being able to harness the offshore wind potential that is huge. What did Angus call it? The Saudi Arabia of wind, the Gulf of Maine. And that's got a huge potential. So it's not just solar that has the potential to help Maine to become independent with its energy sources. And I'm going to let Leland add his thoughts while I think of the other thing I was going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I love all of that, especially offshore wind in particular. I don't think there's any one right solution. This has to be really a wholesale approach to thinking about our future. And one of those things happens to be community solar, and it's a great option because it's accessible, but there are also a ton of other options that will fit very nicely with that. One thing I'd want to comment on is just that clean energy is not a partisan issue. It's broadly supported across the aisle, and that shows across all states. And the thing that excites me about that in particular is just that because it takes a village, it also takes a village that really has similar goals in mind. And I think this is an issue where we're going to see growth on all fronts. However that takes shape, I don't know. Maybe it will be driven by states such as Maine, which is exciting. But I'm just looking forward to that landscape changing and to really seeing us hit an inflection point as a society and just seeing how we all work together to accomplish whatever those goals look like.
Great. Thank you so much for that and that thoughtful answer. If there isn't any other questions, and just pausing here for a moment, I would like to again thank you so much to the team here today. It's so appreciated. You do see some resources within the comments section, as well as the Central Maine Growth Council will be uploading this presentation so it may be viewed at another time, which will of course include the slide deck here and applicable information. I would like to thank our sponsors for this afternoon. Again, this free event is presented by the Central Maine Growth Council with the support and sponsorship by CGI, Thomas College's Harold Alfon Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space, which typically plays home to our Tech Nights and Network Tech Talks. We will be continuing to do our Tech Talks every second Thursday of every month moving forward, albeit we do hope to see people in person. I continue to get texts and emails about people missing the pizza, and I'm assuming maybe the free beer as well. So we do miss those collegial networking events, but thank you so much for everybody that was joining us today. Thank you for folks watching at a later time as well to learn more about the power market. Thank you all. Cheers and have a great rest of the week. And I see Kay wanting to sign us off here.
Thank you so much, Garvin, for hosting this. We really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the folks in Central Maine today. And there's one important piece that I have neglected to add about PowerMarket's desire and sort of its DNA, which includes giving back to communities. And so what we love to do is build referral partnerships with organizations in different communities to help us build our subscriber list, and then so that we can in turn give donations back to those community organizations. And that's really what sets PowerMarket's community solar programs apart from some of the other ones that you may be hearing from. So I didn't want to close us out entirely without remembering to mention that. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kay, for hitting that as well. You do see Kay's contact information or email at info@powermarket.io, or can be found online as well. Thank you all and have a great rest of the week. And we look forward to seeing you again for November's Network Tech Talk. Thank you, cheers, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.